Hi everyone, this is Julianne Victoria of Through the Peacock's Eyes. Welcome to my channel. So this is the first of two videos I am doing for the 28 Days of the Moon series, which was started by Maha over at Maha's Treasure Box and Amber over at Lavender Moon. Maha is putting together a playlist of all 28 videos from all the awesome YouTubers out there, all sorts of topics on the moon. I will link that below in the description box and pin it at the top of the comments below because I know on some devices it's easier to find one rather than the other. All devices are different. So that is there for you to check out to see all the topics. And this series runs from, or it began on June 21st or 22nd and goes through July 18th. Okay, so my topic for this first video is Journey with the Moon through the Lunar Mansions. And I came up with this topic because I'm working on a course on the Nakshatras, which is the Vedic term for the lunar mansions. And as I've been working on that course, I'm going through all the details and the signs and the this and that. But I noticed that there's a story that plays out somewhat similarly to the fool's journey through the tarot. There is like a soul's journey through the lunar mansions. Now the moon represents, emotions, intuition, mothering, nurturing energy. But the moon also represents our emotional minds, part of our personality and identity, along with the ascendant. The sun in astrology, especially Vedic astrology, strongly represents the soul, and the moon reflects the light of the sun, our souls, here on earth. And as with our lives here on earth, there are ups and downs, there are challenges, there are temptations, there are epiphanies and moments of awakening, and then more challenges and temptations. So it's sort of like, as the moon waxes and wanes and gets bright and dark and shifts and changes, our soul's experience goes through all sorts of ups and downs, not just in one life, but through many lifetimes. So I kind of see this journey of the moon through the lunar mansions as not just our soul, like an analogy, an example of a soul's journey through a given lifetime, but through the expanse of time through hundreds, thousands, or more lifetimes. From the birth of the soul or the beginning, the birth of the universe, to the return to source. Okay, so to do this, I will be flipping the camera around, but first let me just go a little bit into what are the lunar mansions. Because a lot of people aren't familiar with that, especially if you're coming from a Western astrology perspective. So in astrology, both Vedic and Western astrology and other systems, there's the solar zodiac, which goes from Aries to Pisces, the 12 signs of the zodiac. There is also a lunar zodiac. There are signs that the moon travels through every month. So month or month, right? There are 27 lunar mansions or nakshatras. There is an extra one, and I'll get to that as well. And they're 27 because the moon in a sidereal month, so a sidereal month is when the moon starts in one sign and ends in that exact same point in the sky. And a sidereal month is 27 days and change. And hence there are 27 nakshatras. So the moon moves through one nakshatra each day. There is also a lunar month, which is, one new moon to one new moon, or one full moon to one full moon. And that is 29 days. So they're actually two different months or months calculations. So to explain that a little better, I'm going to read a couple paragraphs from my book, Shedding Light on Jyotisha, Vedic Astrology for Beginners, where I explain it a little bit better because it's all written out. Okay, there are two main cycles of the moon or months. From here on Earth, we can easily see what is called a lunar or synodic month. A lunar month is the period from one new moon to the next new moon, or from one full moon to the next full moon. It lasts 29 days, 12 hours, and 44 minutes, approximately. It takes the moon a little more than one revolution around the Earth to complete a lunar month. A little more. So you may notice like the new moon each month isn't in the exact same spot in the sky. It slowly moves. The other main cycle of the moon is called the Satiereal Month. The Sidereal Month is based on the position of the moon in respect to the background of stars or constellations, and Sider means star. It lasts 27 days, 7 hours, and 43 minutes. The moon begins and ends the sidereal month in the same position in the sky, in the same constellation, and at the same degree. So that exact point in the sky. So the whole month, exact same point where it returns. For example, if the moon is at 10 degrees Leo at this moment in time in approximately 27.3 days, it will again be at 10 degrees of Leo, beginning a new sidereal month. Okay, so that's just, one more paragraph. The lunar zodiac, or the Nakshatras, which also means star or constellation, is based on the sidereal month of the moon. The moon passes through approximately one nakshatra per Earth day in the sidereal month, and thus there are 27 nakshatras. In ancient times, sometimes a 28th nakshatra was considered, and that's the extra one, which I will talk about. So that's what the lunar mansions are, also called nakshatras. The 27 constellations that the moon goes through in an entire month, and they all are ruled by different signs, different deities, and they have different energies, elements, and gunas. I won't go into all those details here. I'm going to focus on kind of the soul journey as we go through it. So now I'm going to flip the camera around and demonstrate that, also using my Vedic astrology cards. So you can also see the detailed information without this being a full several-hour course, but just an introduction and an exploration of the journey of the moon through the lunar mansions. Okay, so before we get into this journey of the moon, or the soul, or the psyche, you could say, through human existence, through the lunar mansions, I want to point out that there are 3 stages to this. 3 stages of growth, 3 stages of soul evolution, 3 stages of development and challenges, you can even say, as our soul grows through multiple lifetimes and experiences. And these stages are marked by what are called the Gandanta points. And the Gandanta points are where the lunar and solar zodiac come together. So a solar sign and a lunar sign both end and begin at the same time. And that happens at the end of all the water signs, so Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And keep in mind, this is on the Vedic sidereal zodiac, not the Western tropical zodiac. So those are significant, very powerful points in the sky, in astronomy, and in astrology. Okay, so let's go through this journey. I'll try not to make this too long, because this could easily be a few hour-long video. The 2 decks you see here that I'm using sort of as props and visuals, as well as giving you some information that we're not going to go into here, but just in case you're curious. They come from my 2 decks. The one on the left is the Vedic Astrology Oracle, and the one on the right is the Vedic Astrology Study deck, and they can be used in conjunction with my book, Shedding Light on Jyotisha. Okay, so Ashvini is the first lunar mansion, or nakshatra, and we can see that as the start of the soul, or the moon, the psyche's journey through human experience and existence. It is the spark, it is the beginning, it is the initial awareness of existence. It is the soul consciousness. So it is the major transition from being one with source to being, you could say, an individual psyche. Okay. Then the soul moves on. The moon moves on into Rohini Nakshatra. This is the womb. This is entering the womb of physicality. This is the birth into a human, a life experience. And as we do that, as you can see, we begin to experience material comforts. Then the moon, our psyches, our soul, you could say, the reflection of our soul on earth in this human experience, moves through Kritika Nakshatra. In this nakshatra, at specifically 3 degrees of Taurus, the moon is exalted. So you could say, in this metaphorical journey, our psyche is very powerful. It's still quite aware of its interconnectedness, its connection to source or God or the universe. This is active creation into the physical. It's being aware of the light of life, but also the fragility, that destruction keyword there. Without death, there is no life. It's awareness of that cycle. Complete awareness in a peaceful sort of way, because the soul is still very close to source. Then the moon, the psyche, moves into Rohini Nakshatra. This is where attachment to physical life, driven both by physical and spiritual passions and desires and drives, starts to latch on. And then the psyche moves into the Mrigashira Nakshatra. Now this is a nakshatra that's very closely connected to the moon. Represents awareness of the mind or the head or the ego versus the deeper subconscious parts, the deeper psyche. But in the soul, the psyche's experience in this human realm, it starts to face illusion, escapism, changeability, ups and downs. Where is the mind? Where is the psyche? So it's starting to really get enmeshed into, you could say, the human experience. Next, the moon journeys through Ardra Nakshatra. The psyche, or the individual, gets more and more into one's head. So you see the intellect keyword here. There's still a desire to look within and to integrate, stay integrated, the deep inner psyche of the individual as well as the intellectual mind. But there's conflict, there's struggle. So whatever lifetimes of experience this stage of the journey is, there's great conflict and inner struggle. Then the moon's journey moves into Punarvasu Nakshatra. This is the need for direction, as well as a desire to return to where it feels like home. So the soul, reflected by the moon in the human experience, might feel lost. It's looking for where to go. It's looking for a direction. And as you can see, we have the bow, right? There's nothing to shoot. And then the moon journeys through Pusha Nakshatra. There's a desire to find more purpose and direction, more focus. And I didn't use this picture, but one of the symbols is the arrow. This is the arrow for the bow. We find a purpose. We find that arrow to shoot. We point in a direction. Now this nakshatra I want to point out is ruled by Saturn. And Saturn triggers transformation. So the first, we'll say deepest, because we all have little transformations scattered throughout our multiple lifetimes. But the first deep transformation as we head towards that first Gandanta point is triggered by this arrow. And then the moon journeys through Ashlesha. So as you can see, the transformation keyword here. Ashlesha, that's hard for me to say. Ashlesha is where the arrow shoots. Maybe unexpectedly for this soul experience, as in that stroke of insight, that sudden awakening, that kundalini rising unexpectedly. But it's deep into that transformation, shedding that skin of the snake, which represents the existence. So here we come to that first Gandanta point at 30 degrees of Cancer. We're in the waters, not the deepest waters, but where the waters represent our emotions, our intuition, and also our psyche, like the moon. We're deep within it. Now the moon, the psyche, the soul, begins its journey through the second stage of its soul experience in human existence. It's descending deeper into the material world, into physicality, into the body, into material things. And that begins in the nakshatra of Magha. Magha is ruled by Ketu, as you can see. And Ketu implies that there's access to the past stage of experience. Yet there is a lot of, you could say, temptation and challenges. So as we dive deeper into ourselves in a given lifetime, across lifetimes, to grow more, to expand more, we must learn. So we often have to face struggles and challenges. So in Magha, there's desire for wealth, there's desire for power, there's obsession on the body. Then the moon journeys into Purva Falguni Nakshatra. Again, there's more material emphasis. This is a very sensual nakshatra. The symbols, as you can see, are the bed and the fireplace. It's cozy, it's luxury, it's things that are pleasurable. So it's getting lost in those pleasurable experiences in order to learn, in order to grow. And then we have Uttara Falguni Nakshatra. This leads to, those ambitious desires, outward expression. It's very ambition. We often connect to career. How can we be successful in this human experience? How can I have a good job? How can I have nice things? That's where the focus, the lure of the psyche, the moon in this metaphor, is pulled to. All to grow, all to learn. Then the moon journeys through Hasta Nakshatra. Here there is more, because it's ruled by the moon. And the symbol is the hand, which is a very important tool in our human experience. With the moon ruling this nakshatra, there is more reconnection to compassion and sympathy and empathy. The hands represent work, service, also a greater sense of personal growth and destiny. So it's like pulling away from being so engrossed into physicality or the material things and realize, oh wait, there's more to life than just that. Then the moon journeys into Chitra Nakshatra. Again, it's still in the material physicality sort of lessons and experiences, but we see the beautiful facades. We see that there is more beneath. We see that external achievements aren't all that there is. And we start to yearn for more again beyond the superficial and material. Next, the moon moves into Spotty Nakshatra. It sees that there are greater goals than there's just the superficial. Still a connection to luxury, there is still temptation. But the soul is not so engrossed in the physicality and the material things. It senses a dissatisfaction in that, in the sense that that's not all there is to the human experience. It sees something more. And then the moon, the psyche, journeys on to Vishaka Nakshatra. The spiritual warrior energy emerges. We see that we can mold our lives, not just be compelled by, again, the material things and the physicality of life. Doesn't mean that has to be pushed away, but there's more to it. The spiritual warrior begins to emerge in that Scorpio energy. We have choices. We can be prosperous but also aware of this realm of duality and finding the balance. That's the Libra energy. We may question, as that spiritual warrior energy emerges, what is beyond physical prosperity? How can my choices help me to grow beyond that while still in this physical, material world? Then we move into, or the moon moves into, Anuradha Nakshatra. Again, this is the nakshatra ruled by Saturn. The second to last one, or the penultimate one of each stage, is ruled by Saturn. The second deep, significant transformation, again, doesn't mean there aren't others in between in the soul experience. And we can see the lotus flower here. You could see this as the second emergence. An awareness that there is a deeper fortune. There is greater happiness that comes from going into those murky waters that the lotus flower rises out of. It's not on the surface of the waters. And the last nakshatra through this stage of the moon, or the psyche, the soul's journey, is through Jyeshta. So Jyeshta is a nakshatra that commands respect. Not demands respect, but commands respect. So at this stage, as the soul is going through its second deep transformation, others take notice and see that the human experiences that the soul at that stage is embodying is worthy of respect, of being looked up to, of being honored. And then the moon, and it's this metaphorical journey of the soul through human existence, goes into the third, or the deepest stage. And through the stage, it develops that wider connection or awareness deep within and beyond the individual self. So the moon now journeys through Mula Nakshatra, returning to the roots. That can be past lives, so a desire to understand past lives, past experiences, ancestors, where the soul has come from. But there's still challenges. There's still the personal desires of the individual lives that the soul is experiencing at this stage. But there's this greater desire to understand what is beyond the self. And much of that often requires connecting to where we have come from, physically and spiritually. And as you can see, we're in the very spiritual sign, even religious sign, and philosophical sign of Sagittarius. So then the moon moves into Purvashada Nakshatra. Even greater potential and desire to open and connect to intuition. And you can see the Venus energy there. Self-love, self-compassion. We see our potentials in more ways than the soul had experienced before. And of course, that can bring about change. Then the moon moves into Uttarashada Nakshatra. That greater sense of interconnectedness really sinks in. You can see that keyword rest there. There is the mind in the human experiences is more at rest because it has this deeper understanding of the interconnectedness of all beings and things. And when we have that sense, when our minds are a little bit more at rest, we can access deeper knowledge and wisdom from within. And with that, we briefly pause at the extra nakshatra. And I just want to point out here, creative potential means something completely new at this point, at this stage of our soul's journey and evolution. And then we enter into the moon, the psyche, enter into the experiences represented by Shravana Nakshatra. Now here, we're better able to listen. Listen. Listen to our own souls, our higher selves, our intuition, universal truths. And we're able to reflect upon all that within. This is a stage of great, tremendous growth. And then the moon journeys through Dhanishta Nakshatra. Now this is the beat, the rhythm. The soul really starts to move with the rhythm of all that is intangible and non-physical. The rhythm of the soul, the rhythm of the universe, the rhythm of inner guidance. It's harmonious interconnectedness. There's still discipline, as you can see with the keywords I put there. There's still lessons to learn, but it's more in tune, it's more in alignment. Next, the moon journeys into Shatabhishak Nakshatra. And here we have our second lotus flower, except here it's the 1,000-petaled lotus. This is accepting the responsibility of our existence. The responsibility and the awareness of what is still restricting us. So the responsibility to face our challenges, face our lessons. Maybe you could see this as really being willing to do that inner work and facing the shadows within. And from that comes great opening and expansion. So you may see I put the keywords restrictions. But if we work with our restrictions, that Saturnine energy, so Vedic astrology, Saturn rules Aquarius. If we work with our restrictions, they can lead us to our greatest growth. That's those challenges. So the 1,000-petaled lotus is opening up. This you can also see as the crown chakra is opening up to cosmic law. Then the moon journeys through Purvabhadra Nakshatra. This is really being very aware of what is beyond the self, the realm of duality that the human experience is in, balancing those opposites and even unifying them. And that humanitarian energy, not just for the self, but for the good of others. This is the humanitarian energy. At this stage, the eccentric energy there, the individual, those lifetimes whereas soul is experiencing this energy on its journey, may seem pretty eccentric, stand out, be different, oddball, not part of the norm of superficial society, because it's beyond that, way beyond it. Okay. Then we move on to, or the moon moves through Uttarabhadra Nakshatra. And here you can see, because the symbol of the twins, that's the duality coming together. This is our third Saturn-ruled nakshatra, the third great transformation, the access of hidden wisdom within ourselves. You could see that as truths of what is and the universe. Yeah, through this transformation stage, it's like everything opens up. And then last but not least, we move into Revati Nakshatra. This is the Transcendence to cosmic consciousness. It's integrated balance, or an integrated balanced being, or soul with the cosmic consciousness, with God, with the universe, with the all that is. This is moksha, this is nirvana, this is the return to source. So thank you for joining me with this journey of the moon through the lunar mansions in this metaphorical journey of the soul or the psyche through the human experience and the soul growth and expansion that takes place. Of course, this isn't exactly how everyone's souls grow and evolves over hundreds or thousands or more lifetimes, or even in an individual lifetime. But I just thought it was really interesting that there's this story that sort of plays out. So I hope you found it interesting too, maybe a little enlightening. Thank you for being here. Do check out all the other videos, all the other great YouTube creators who are involved in this 28 Days of the Moon project. And again, the playlist is linked below, also pinned at the top of the comments. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here, and I will see you back here soon.